What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today we've got our Week 15 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup, so make sure to tune in. If you enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at alldaypigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section, do you agree, disagree, along with any other questions you guys might have. We'll do our best to answer them all, but with that being said, let's get right into it. Before getting into our breakdown, I want to highlight the sponsor of today's video, OddsJam. OddsJam continues to be the place that I use for all of my sports betting research, from the NFL, NBA, MLB, to daily fantasy and everything in between. But don't just take my word for it. Let me show you firsthand all the amazing tools OddsJam has to offer. Starting with their positive EV tool, which identifies situations where a single sportsbook has mispriced their line compared to the rest of the market. They're basically willing to pay a lot more so that you bet with them compared to the other sportsbook. At the end of the day, you're getting the best odds, essentially a mathematical edge and guaranteed money in the long run. But also available is OddsJam's arbitrage tool, which shows situations where the market is so mispriced that you can bet on both sides and guarantee a risk-free return. OddsJam's calculators show you exactly how much you have to bet on the over and under and what the respective guaranteed risk-free return would be. There's also OddsJam's Sportsbook tool, which consolidates all available market info, over 200 sportsbooks, and provides updates in real time and allows you to see line movement. But my personal favorite is their Fantasy Optimizer tool, which is great for those using PrizePicks, Underdogs, or other daily fantasy sites, as you get to see discrepancies between all of these sportsbooks. Imagine, PrizePicks has a Patrick Mahomes line at 200.5 passing yards, and all other books like FanDuel and Underdog have this line at 230 passing yards. Well, getting the over 200.5 on PrizePicks would be an absolute steal. Guess what? OddsJam does that for you. And the good news is, if you sign up today and use our code PIGSKIN, check the link and promo code in the description of this video, you will get 25% off your first month. OddsJam also has a 7-day free trial, so you get to try before you buy. So don't waste any more time and sign up for OddsJam using our code PIGSKIN today. Now, we kick off Week 15 on Thursday with the Chargers at the Raiders. And this one's actually a pretty interesting one in terms of the running back concerned, because first you've got Austin Eckler, who, you would think is an automatic start, a top 10 running back, even though he had a couple weeks stretch where he was underperforming, but we all know the upside. However, the big thing with the Chargers is Justin Herbert is out for the remainder of the season with a broken finger. So that means you're going to have a backup quarterback there for the Chargers, and the upside for this offense isn't nearly what it used to be. So the rushing touchdown upside, the rushing usage upside for Eckler, not that it was elite to begin with, but it's even lower now, and there's no guarantee that the replacement quarterback here is going to target Austin Eckler as a pass catcher as much as a Justin Herbert. That's the main worry here. So, I'm still obviously going to start him. I'm not afraid of this matchup, but to me, I think we just have to reevaluate how we're looking at Eckler. And I would say that is more now as a running back 2 and a better PPR option. For the Raiders, you've got Josh Jacobs, banged up a little bit last week, but right now the main issue is it's a quick turnaround. What are the Raiders going to do? Are they going to play him? Are they going to sit him? It's one we kind of have to wait and see a little bit. I'm leaning that they're going to play him because they haven't really made any news, any signings, things like that at the running back position. The backups, you've got Amir Abdullah, you've got Zamir White. If Josh Jacobs can't go, I would say that it's a committee approach with Abdullah and Zamir White. If you force me to pick one, I would go with Amir Abdullah. He's had a little bit more success before in the past. And then for the Chargers, you've got the backups in Isaiah Spiller and Josh Kelly. To me, they're both sits as well, even though the Chargers have said, we might go with a hot hand approach. Maybe it would have mattered if Justin Herbert was still there. Now, to me, it doesn't. The backups are backups, and it's going to remain like that. You're just focusing on the top 2 guys here in Eckler and Josh Jacobs, to me, who are both kind of in the running back 2 conversation. Then Vikings at the Bengals. I'm really interested in Joe Mixon here. I think that he is the preferred running back across the board. And yes, while both these teams are down to backup quarterbacks, The Bengals are in a better situation, in my opinion. So to me, Mixon is a mid-level running back 2. With the Vikings, Madison, losing some carries to Chandler, and then now the Vikings on to their third quarterback. It's a situation where I just think it's not the best recipe for success. Madison also hasn't been, necessarily what we hoped for in terms of the efficiency. So I think you're better off sitting the Vikings running backs, at least until we can see what we have from this offense following another quarterback change. Then Steelers at the Colts. I'm only starting Zach Moss here for the Colts. I think he can bounce back from last week. He's still, for the majority of the season, been a very, very good running back for the Colts while filling in for Jonathan Taylor. So I think he's going to be a mid-level running back 2. For the Steelers, though, I know this is a good matchup, but Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, again, it's tough to get excited when you're capping at like 10 carries apiece. The other guy is taking away opportunities from you when Mitch Trubisky is taking away rushing opportunities as well. So it's really not a situation that I like. I think it's basically a coin flip in terms of who's going to be more utilized. While I think it's going to be Najee Harris, again, it's not by too much, and it's not to a degree where, he's extremely talented and I'm saying you have to start him. So I'm sitting the Steelers running backs. Moving on, Broncos at the Lions. I'll start Javonte Williams. The utilization has been there, so that's good to see. I still think he's a low-end running back, too, that is touchdown dependent for what it's worth. Then for the Lions, kind of a tough matchup. The Broncos have been stingy defensively, but I still think Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are 2 of their top weapons offensively here, especially with what Gibbs can do as a pass catcher. So, I like him in the PPR role. I like Montgomery in the standard role. Both guys are going to get like 10, 15 carries apiece. Both have high touchdown upside because of what this Lions offense is. So for that reason, I have both of them kind of in that mid-level running back 2 conversation. Then Giants at the Saints. This one's pretty easy. Saquon Barkley, Alvin Kamara, kind of set and forget. I think Alvin Kamara has the higher upside because I think his matchup is an easier one. And for that reason, I have him ranked a little bit higher. I have him as a top 10 running back. Now, we'll see what happens. Taysom Hill probably going to return, a little bit of a vulture in the end zone, but it doesn't matter. Kamara's pass-catching upside is great, so that's what we're looking for here. Obviously ranked higher in PPR formats, but Barkley, again, he's the focal point of that Giants offense, so to me, he's a mid-level, high-end running back 2. Then Bears at the Browns. I really don't like this game as far as the running back position is concerned. The Browns, they've got a pretty good defense here, folks, and especially at Cleveland. They play well there. Now, yes, Deonta Foreman has kind of gotten the starting running back job, but Khalil Herbert's still there. Roshan is still there. Most importantly, Justin Fields is still there. So it's tough to get excited about 10 carries for Deonta Foreman. And then on top of that, when you're playing this Browns defense in Cleveland. So I'm sitting all the Bears running backs. And similar type of situation for the Browns, Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt. Now, I do feel more comfortable with their running backs for what it's worth, but Jerome Ford not getting huge utilization, like 10, 12 carries, something like that. Kareem Hunt having some touchdown success. Ford got a little bit banged up last week, but returned, so I think he's going to play. The Bears defense has been playing better as of late, so I just don't love this matchup in general. I think it could be, an ugly game. I don't think it's going to be an offensive explosion with the running backs being the stars of the show. So for that reason, I'm sitting all the running backs here. Then Falcons at the Panthers. Bijan Robinson is an obvious must start. But guess what? I think Tyler Algier is too. Yes, he's the backup to Bijan, but this is the type of game where the Panthers, they've been getting bullied and just embarrassed pretty much the entire year. And I think the Falcons can continue that. I think they're going to pull away from the Panthers, and I think that Tyler Algier is going to get some opportunities. I could see him just, getting in for like a 1-2 yard touchdown type of deal. So I actually like Tyler Algier as a dark horse for the Panthers. Chuba Hubbard has kind of become the only viable fantasy start for them. Again, I still don't know why they just decided to phase out Adam Thielen from this offense. He was having a bunch of success at the wide receiver position, even though it didn't mean wins for the Panthers at the start of the season. However, that's a conversation for another time. Main thing is Chuba Hubbard, regardless of the game script, is going to be utilized, so I have him as a low to mid-level running back too. Then Bucks at the Packers. I'll start Rachaad White. He's been great as of late, and I think he can continue it versus the Packers. They don't scare me all that much. If Aaron Jones plays, I'll start him. If not, I just don't like the matchup versus the Buccaneers with A.J. Dillon. He's not that great of a pass catcher either. So if Jones doesn't play, I wouldn't immediately go to play A.J. Dillon. If Aaron Jones does play, then I think A.J. Dillon is an obvious sit. Either way, though, I think Rachaad White is the much better play here. I think he can be a low-end running back one. I think with the Packers running backs, kind of like they've been all year long, they're going to be boom or bust plays. Then Jets at the Dolphins. This one's easy. You start Breece Hall, you start the Dolphins running backs. Breece Hall coming off a huge performance, but the problem is with the Jets, it's a situation of who are they playing and what Zach Wilson shows up. And more often than not, it's a bad Zach Wilson. Again, Breece Hall did most of his damage as a pass catcher. That's what we've been saying, folks, that we've been saying he's mainly viable in PPR formats. So that's going to continue to be the case for him here. He's a boomer bust kind of running back too. For the Dolphins, Raheem Mostert, Achane. We saw with Achane finally, when healthy and playing a full game, he had an off week, and that's just because he can't be uber efficient every single game. Like, he can't have a 50-yard touchdown every single game. So this is what we were saying before. Now, also the Jets up front defensively a little bit better. So I think you got to start Achane for the upside for what he can do. But again, he's a boomer bust, low-end running back too. Raheem Mostert is still the much better play. He's still getting the utilization. So I think he is kind of in that high-end running back 2 conversation. But either way, I like the running backs here. Then Chiefs at the Patriots. If he plays, Isaiah Pacheco for the Chiefs. So that's what you're looking and hoping for, because the tandem of Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon just can't replace Pacheco. If Pacheco doesn't play, then I'd probably lean Clyde Edwards-Helaire for the carry advantage. For the Patriots, it's easy. We said without Ramondre Stevenson, folks, Ezekiel Elliott is going to be a stud. It's exactly what happened, and I think he can continue here versus the Chiefs. Now, for what it's worth, it's not going to be as easy of a matchup as it was last week. So I don't think game script-wise this is going to be as favorable necessarily, but Zeke to me still has the upside of a high-end running back too. Afterwards, Texans at the Titans. I'm only starting Derrick Henry here. I know the Titans are coming off a very good performance, kind of unexpected in my opinion. Derrick Henry, a lot of rushing success, rushing touchdowns, and that's what we said with Henry. Yes, he is probably going to struggle the majority of the season just because of what this offense is, but his playoff schedule is really, really nice, and I think this is another example of it. So I like Derrick Henry here. I think he can be a solid high-end running back too, especially in standard scoring formats. Spears for the Titans, I'm sitting. I just don't think every single week he's going to catch like 6-7 passes. That's the main issue for me. So unless you're very, very bold on him, and Will Levis being able to, having a 300-plus yard passing attack every single week, I would be sitting him. Then for the Texans, Devin Singletary and Dameon Pierce, I currently have as sits. Titans have kind of been stingy with that run defense, but more importantly, C.J. Stroud and the concussion protocol. I don't love that situation, and this entire offense changes in that scenario. Nico Collins banged up, and Dameon Pierce is also back. I do think Singletary is going to be more utilized, but still, right now, the Texans' offense is just pointing downwards, so I would be sitting the Houston rushers. Then 49ers at the Cardinals, pretty easy. Christian McCaffrey, the number 1 running back, you start him every single week. Nothing else to say for the Cardinals. Coming off the bye week, I'll start James Conner. It really is dependent on the game script here, what happens, whether you're going to be relying on James Conner as a rusher or as a pass catcher, but it'll probably be as a pass catcher. I have him as a low to mid-level running back too, game script dependent. Then Commanders at the Rams. So I'm going to start Brian Robinson here, and that's assuming that he's healthy. If he's not, Antonio Gibson could be worth a flyer, but I think the Rams can cause some issues for the Commanders defensively. And then for the Rams, you start Kyron Williams. Obviously, he's been a stud ever since he came back. So I think he can continue versus Washington here. Afterwards, Cowboys at the Bills. I'm starting Tony Pollard. I'm starting James Cook. I think it can be a high-scoring affair. Both guys are going to have their opportunities. I have Tony Pollard ranked slightly higher, but both are kind of high-end running back twos for me. Then Ravens at the Jaguars. I'll start Travis Etienne, but temper the expectations. This Ravens defense, it's legit. And then for Baltimore, I will sit Keaton Mitchell and Gus Edwards. Again, it's tough to get excited about two guys that are vulturing each other, that have probably going to have 10 carries apiece, and then that you have to contend with Lamar Jackson. So for that reason, I think they're both sits. Then Eagles at the Seahawks. I'm only starting DeAndre Swift here. Couple of games where he's struggled, but I think he can get back on the right side of things versus Seattle. I have him as a mid-level running back too. And for the Seahawks, look, this is kind of what we said last week. Kenneth Walker making his return. Don't be surprised if it's a split between him and Charbonnet. That's exactly what happened. And I don't think it's going to all of a sudden flip completely to what it was before now, especially versus this Eagles team. That's why I think it's better to sit here looking at the matchup, both Walker and Charbonnet. But with that, we wrap up our Week 15 fantasy football running back starts and sits for every single matchup. If you guys enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at alldaypigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section. Do you agree, disagree, along with any of the questions you guys might have? We'll do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, we'll see you guys in future videos.